17-year-old son came home from school last week and said, "Dad, I want to go cold calling door to door for my AI business." Most 17-year-olds don't even know what cold calling is. A lot of 40-year-olds would avoid it at all costs. But he wanted to rip the bandaid off. So we did, together. And here's what happened. And this is why this one experience taught him more than 4 years of college ever could. Let me start with something controversial. I think everyone should walk into a business cold and try and sell them something. Anything. If you have nothing to sell, try and sell them on giving you 50% off of whatever they sell, just because. Why? Because it builds character, it builds confidence, it builds everything you need to be successful in business and in life. Fear of rejection, fear of looking stupid, fear of being judged. Cold calling forces it on your face, at your face, to your face, all at once. And once you do it, once you survive it, nothing else in business scares you anymore. That's why I was so proud of Pax when he said he wanted to do this. So, in the car ride on our way to our first stop, we discussed his approach. I gave him advice on his introduction, some probing questions to ask, an idea of how to turn their answers into a problem that he can help solve. This was the lead with your ears lesson that we talked about in another video. But now he was going to apply it in real time, under pressure, with a total stranger. And was he nervous? Absolutely. He kept asking, what if they just say no right away? I told him they probably will, and that's okay. You're not trying to close any deals today. You're trying to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And that reframed it for him. So we walked into the first business, a local service company with a small office, receptionist at the front desk. Pax introduced himself, said he had an AI solution that could help them, and then he froze. Not completely, but enough. He forgot his probing questions. He started pitching instead of listening. So I jumped in, asked a few questions to keep the conversation fluid about their call volume, about their current systems, about their biggest operational challenges. The owner was friendly, engaged, but ultimately said, we're good for now, but you can leave your card and maybe sometime down the future. So the translation was a polite no, at least for now. Pax was disappointed, and I told him that was perfect. He learned what not to do, and that's the whole point. The second business was better. He asked more questions, listened more, still a bit stiff. The third business, even better. He was starting to find his rhythm. He joked with the client. His voice was more confident. He smiled more. By the fourth, he did 100% of the talking, and I just stood there. He asked about their systems, their phone calls, their missed calls, how much time they spent answering routine questions. The owner said, yeah, we miss a lot of calls, especially during lunch or after hours. And my secretary spends half her day on the phone answering the same questions over and over again. Well, that was a problem that Pax could solve. He explained how his AI voice agent, how it worked, how it could answer calls 24/7, how it could handle routine questions, how it could free up the secretary to do more valuable work. The owner said, send me a proposal. I'd like to see the details and learn more about the pricing. That's when Pax knew that he had done it. So in the car ride on the way home, he was buzzing. Hey, Dad, that last one, I think they actually have a chance that they're going to do it. Maybe, maybe not. It really didn't matter. What mattered was that he had gone from being frozen to fluid in 4 conversations. That's the power of just doing it. I asked him, what did you learn? He said, it's not as scary as I thought. And when you actually listen to them, they tell you exactly what they need. And it's just a conversation. Exactly. The experience made me think about something bigger. Why isn't confidence taught in schools? Why isn't communication a mandatory focus starting at an early age and progressing all the way through high school? Public speaking in front of the classroom, teaching proper introductions, the art of conversation, how to read a room, how to interpret body language, how to get people to like you instantly, small talk. Way more important than 90% of the classes my son has taken in his school experience. I think there should be a class called communication that gets the same amount of class time as English or math in every school. Written, vocal, psychological communication, how to read a room, How to interpret body language, how to improve your own body language, how to get people to like you instantly, how to build rapport, how to lead a group, how to motivate others, how to handle conflict, how to work through roadblocks. These are all so important, no matter how you make your money. In fact, I'm willing to bet there's a direct correlation between the most successful people and these attributes, simply because better and more comfortable is someone that's communicating with everyone else, and that means they have less fear. Fear of how you're perceived by others is what often holds otherwise amazingly talented people back or limits their potential. I've personally experienced this in my own life as a young adult. My career honestly suffered as a result. I'd be much more prosperous. I would have realized more of my full potential if I'd been taught communication and forced to learn how to be comfortable interacting with anybody without any concern. That's what I'm teaching Pax now, because school won't. And although he didn't learn communication from school, he's forcing himself to learn it by jumping in the deep end, walking into businesses to sell, messing up, being a bit embarrassed, fumbling through his pitch. This is all great. He will be incredibly successful in any business purely as a result of developing his communication skills. He knows how important it is, so he's doing it. And that's why Dad is so proud. So here's my challenge to you and your kids if you have them. Do one thing this week that scares you, one thing that forces you to communicate with a stranger. It does not have to be a cold call. It could be just starting a conversation with someone at the coffee shop, asking a question at a public meeting, introducing yourself to someone that you admire, calling a business to ask about their services, even if you don't need them. Just do something that makes you uncomfortable, because that's where the growth happens, not in the classroom, not in the comfort zone, in the moment when you're nervous and you do it anyway and realize it's really not that big of a deal. If you've ever done cold calling, or if you're terrified of it, drop a comment. I want to hear your story. And please subscribe. Until next time.